Okay, Catherine, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I'm sure that a lot of you know a thing or two about drones because they've been in the news nonstop the past few years. But I'm going to give you a little bit of background anyway. So drones can be the size of a Boeing 737 or as small as a magazine. Since they are unmanned, some types of drones are used in dangerous or dirty situations in place of humans. Drones can have tons of uses, but we really only hear about the trouble they can cause. As drones become more and more popular, more civilians are operating them. The Federal Aviation Administration requires that all drone operators receive a certificate of authorization before they can fly their drones. Civilians are not allowed to fly their drones over 400 feet in altitude and must keep their drones within sight. They cannot operate a drone within 5 miles of an airport. Drones, as I mentioned before, have many uses, some good, some bad. The problem that has become more and more common in the past few years is drones flying too close to planes. These drones are the smaller civilian-operated drones, but they still pose a threat to the safety of flyers and are being flown in restricted areas. Just in the past few weeks, there have been several major stories about drones coming too close to airplanes or being flown next to airports. In fact, there are quite a few arguments against the use of drones these days. Most people think that with the increasing use of drones comes less privacy. For example, there was recently a story in the news about a man who was flying his drone up to a hospital's windows. The patients thought they were being spied on, while the man insists he wasn't spying. And the self-proclaimed drone enthusiast claims he wanted to get some promotional shots for the hospital. Another controversial use for drones is in the military. As I mentioned before, these drones are used because the missions that they are being sent on are too difficult or dangerous for humans. The U.S. has recently been using drones to fight terrorism overseas. Some of the drones used, like the MQ-1B Predator, is used primarily for gathering intelligence, while the MQ-9 Reaper is used primarily to hunt down and execute terrorists. Despite the fact that the drones are used so that less lives or risks are taken, the drone strikes over the past few years have killed more people than the U.S. government would like to acknowledge and have traumatized innocent people. In 2013, an independent organization called the Bureau of Investigative Journalism estimated that 363 CIA drone strikes in Pakistan alone have killed 2,500 to 3,500 people, and anywhere between 400 and 800 of those are civilians. Clearly, the system is nowhere near perfect. Unfortunately, we don't hear about all the good things drones can do as much as we hear about the bad. In fact, there are tons of great things drones can do. Since some drones are capable of flying for long durations in inhospitable environments, one of their uses is flying into disaster areas like the Fukushima nuclear plant after its meltdown. They are also being used to map forest fires in California and are beginning to be used at farms to identify insect problems with watering, and assessing crop yields. I'm sure that many of you have already heard about how Amazon plans to eventually use drones to deliver packages. Recently, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office published Amazon's patent application for the drone delivery system. The patent application includes an option called Bring It to Me. This feature uses GPS data from the customer's mobile device to locate and deliver them to the item to that location. Amazon also wants to be able to deliver the item within 30 minutes of the order. Testing is underway, but it could take a while before regulators open up the skies completely for commercial use. Another use for drones is to film movies. Believe it or not, the FAA cleared drones to be used on film sets only 1 year ago. These drones are closing the gap between the quality of films put out by major film companies and independent filmmakers, because they make it so much easier and less expensive to get shots you would normally need to hire a helicopter for. There are some restrictions, however. Drones are not allowed to be used at night and can only be used on film sets that are closed to the public. Operators of the drones must have pilot certificates, and many of the restrictions that exist for civilians exist for them as well. The agricultural and film industries aren't the only industries that are beginning to use drones. More and more industries are looking towards commercially using drones. To put this all in perspective, I've only named a few uses of drones, and there's so many more that I haven't mentioned, but I'm sure you wouldn't want me to drone on and on all day. When used properly, that was Catherine Ferrara. Nice. That's beautiful. When used properly and in compliance with the law, drones can be an incredible tool. As Bill Gates once said, never before in the history has innovation offered promise of so much to so many in so short a time.